Good morning, beloved. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever it is that you are watching the broadcast. Hello, 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 hello. It is wonderful to be able to connect with you, wonderful to say hi. Hello, how do you do? What is going on with you? Blessings, 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 blessings unto you. For those of you who will be live, yes, 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 let's do it, let's do it. For those who will hashtag it and replay it, I can appreciate that. For those who will be on and I don't know you on and I might not never know you on, okay. And then for those of you who will be used by Papa at some point down the road to encourage this girl, I am grateful. However it is that you fall into place, I'm very, 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 very grateful for you. I am grateful for you. I'm grateful that you uh, are. I'm grateful that you show up the way that you do. I am grateful that you are doing the thing that you've been created to do, whatever that is, whatever that might be. And so let's do that, right? Let's do it. So today we are talking about this notion of counting the blessings of managing our feelings, counting the blessings of managing our feelings. Yesterday, we talked about counting the blessings of managing our mind, right? Counting the blessings of managing our mind. And today, it's our feelings. So, good morning, Ray. Welcome. Say hump day. I can talk about this subject ad nauseum because this is a very um, mm, important subject to me. It's one that I spend a lot of time engaging and um, just teaching around and all those kinds of things, right? And so the blessings of managing our feelings. I don't even know where to start. It's so many places to start with this. One, feelings, our feelings always make sense. They always make sense. Our feelings are always valid. They always make sense. They're not always beneficial. I need you to know that. They always make sense for who we are, for our history. So, an equation that Papa gave me is our history plus the current situation equals feelings. Our history plus the current situation equals feelings. Okay. So nobody shares your history. Nobody has the exact same history that you have. Not your sister, not your brother, not your mama, not your daddy. Nobody. Your history is unique to everyone else's. I'm not talking culturally and all those kinds of things. I'm talking about your individual personal history. The way that you experience things throughout life is like no one else's experience. So that's why you and your friend, your sister, whoever could experience the exact same thing happening in one moment and totally have a different feeling about it, because what you bring different to that equation is your history, right? So it's going to have you to perceive, good morning, Erica. Hey, honey. It's going to have you to perceive the current situation differently because your history will color that. And as a result of that, you're going to feel something different, right? Your feelings are going to be different. Even if you're going to have the same feeling, you're going to have it for different reasons. Now, what that does is it gives us permission to feel what we feel, right? To whether it makes sense or not to somebody else is irrelevant. Feel what you feel. Now, this is the thing. No judgment can be placed on the feeling. No judgment is placed on feeling. Judgment can be placed on what you do after the feeling. Feel what you feel and accept it, honor it. But then ask yourself, does this feeling work for me? If the feeling doesn't work, then start to change those feelings. Work on changing. We are not in prison to feelings. Never. We are never in prison. It feels like it. It seems like I can't help but to feel like that. That's not true. It's not true. You might not be able to help it right now. But if you decide that you no longer want to feel this way when you find yourself in these situations, give it notice right there. That feeling, you don't get to run me around, okay? You don't get to stay, okay, we're gonna work on this. And then to begin to build a new habit of feeling, a new feeling habit. Change it over time. And how do you change it? By changing the narrative that you attach to the situation. When you change what you say to yourself about a situation, you will be able to change the feeling about the situation. It's simple. I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple. It's not a lot of steps. It's repetition of a few steps, repeating a few steps to change the neural pathways in your brain about the situation. Okay? Now, counting the blessings of managing our feelings. Beloved, let me tell you, there is few freedoms in this world that of the freedom of being able to manage your feelings, not be hooked on every wind that blows, to not be offended every time somebody sneezes, to not have an opinion about somebody's this, that, and the other, whatever, to not be taken on the roller coaster ride just because somebody, oh my God, been there, done that, not ever going back again. Okay? Not ever going back again. Because, so many things ain't none of my business anyway. It's just not my business. And I get all wrapped up, tangled up, tied up in something that ain't my business. Take up my day, take up my energy, take up my time, take up what? No, it ain't that deep. Because what does it matter to you anyway? Why does it matter? Right? So I'm teaching this class, and oh my God, what Papa is doing in this class. Oh my God. We getting free. He is cutting through the chase and giving us insight and wisdom, talking about being our freest version. Yes, 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 and yes. Papa, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm so very grateful. I'm very grateful for my ability to teach, to hear the voice of God, to follow what it is that He's given me, and to be able to share that and then to see the difference that it makes in lives. Because we can be free, especially when it comes to our emotions. We don't have to be driven by every wind that blows. So it comes down to the story that you tell yourself, the significance that you give to a situation. As if you decide that it's not that deep, then you won't be trapped in your emotions. You won't be feeling things that don't serve you well. If you make a decision, you know what, this I don't want this to be that deep. I don't want this to be a thing for me. I don't want this, right? And again, I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I do it much better than I used to because I've built the muscle, because I build the muscle, because I practice every day of being free in my feelings. Let me tell you, Emotions and feelings are a little bit different. I'm not going to go into that so much so, but there's some things we will feel automatically. Like fear is built into us. That's a hardwired emotion that we will fear, that we will feel. And I'm talking about the fear that's connected to our parasympathetic and our sympathetic system, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn system. I'm talking about that. That's built into us. That helps to keep us safe. That's the thing that's built in, that we get ready to step off a curb and something tells us to stop. That's built in to us to help us to survive, to be safe, and to continue, right? Evolution, all those kinds of things. I'm not talking about that. Like, we want that to stay intact. I'm talking about something that we think about, and then all of a sudden we're terrifying ourselves because we are running this motion picture in our brain about what if only, shoulda, coulda, woulda, all those kinds of things. Then we are somewhere down the road, imprisoned in our mind because of the story that we told ourselves about the situation. Come on now. Come on, reel it back in. Don't allow yourself to terrify yourself. Don't allow you to terrify you. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. Now, hey, Tanya, good morning, dear. Many of us have learned from the environment we grew up in to terrify ourselves with the stories we tell ourselves about whatever situation, or to anger ourselves. Good morning, Tisha. Good morning. To be trapped in anger. Can you believe they? I can't believe they. Well, can you believe that you are doing it to you? Man, I wish I could remember some of the things that came out of class last night. It was so profound, and it was a newer concept that I had never really thought about before, but it developed last. Yes, I told myself some crazy stories. Me too, Tanya. Me too, sis. Me too. And those stories had us all tied up, locked down, all bound, terrified, But when we tell ourselves stories of freedom, stories that will liberate us, like, why would we terrify ourselves? And I understand why, because it's what we've learned to do. We've learned to get into these powwows, conversations with people that just are not life-giving. They're just not life-giving. They're not life-giving. And so one of the questions that came up in the course last night is, what do you do when you realize that I can't even remember. I don't know. I can't remember. It was so good and I got to go back and look at the video of my own self. But basically this idea of, what do you do? And so I remember my response. I don't remember exactly how the question was, but the conversations I've had in my head are astounding. Thank God for growth. Amen. Amen, Tisha. It's what I said to them was, okay, first of all, so we're talking about offense. That's the part we're on in a class about offenses. And what I said to them was, well, you know what that feeling is like for you. Like, we've been offended enough that we're very familiar with what that feels like in our body, what the story we tell ourselves, what emotions are connected with it. As soon as you recognize that you have chosen to be offended, not they offended me, no. As soon as you recognize that you have chosen to be offended, then you've got to decide that you are not getting ready to add fuel to the fire. Because when you recognize that you've chosen offense, right? Know then that you put this huge boulder on your back. A ball and chain has been placed on your back. Recognize that, number one. And then decide, I don't want this. I don't want to carry this thing around. So the way that you carry it, that you put it on your back and you lock it down, chain it to yourself, is that you start rehearsing that story. That then just adds fuel to the fire. I guarantee you will stay offended. I guarantee. So one of the things that God gave me is that you can nurture it or release it. Once scripture says offense will come. Okay? Offense will come. But what you gonna do when it comes? What you gonna do when you have chosen to be offense? Right? Offense is a choice, right? You can either nurture that offense, right? Because our feelings will come, right? We can't stop a feeling from coming. We can decide whether or not we're gonna ride with that thing. We can decide whether or not we're gonna nurture it. We can decide whether or not we're gonna add fuel to the fire. You said we can choose not to be offended or choose to assume good intentions, right? Right? We can choose all of those things. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's doable. I'm saying it's necessary if we are going to live the freest version of our lives that we can live. It is necessary to decide I'm not going to choose offense. If I have that feeling, guess what? I'm going to change that feeling. I'm going to decide that you're right. I'm going to decide to just assume good intentions, right? There's so many like offenses everywhere available if you choose it, but so is grace, so is love, so is freedom, so is the goodness, right? All those are equally available as offense. But let me tell you something, whatever you trained yourself to notice, that's what you're going to notice. If you are easily offended, it's because you practice being easily offended. Come on now, come on. If you are easily offended, let me give you notice right now. It's because you practice it. This is not a judgment. This is not a judgment. This is insight. This is insight. Well, if everywhere you go, somebody get on your nerve because you expect it, beloved. I don't expect it. I don't expect it. I'm rarely offended. Rarely. Because I expect the goodness of people. I expect love. I expect connection. I expect us to love on each other, right? But if everywhere you go is, then that's something that you've trained yourself. We get what we expect. We do. We get what we've trained ourselves to have. If you're always in an altercation, you got to check yourself because you are the common denominator. This is good news because if it's always about them and what they do, then you hooked. You don't have a choice for it to be different if it's always they always doing something. I'm always this because of them. Really? So they control your life? They control what comes into your life. They control. If they do, then you're in prison. No, they don't. But that's not the truth. They don't. Yes, you might be around people who consistently do the same things, but let me just tell you, that's an energy that you're drawing to you. That is an energy that you're matching energies. You're drawing that energy to you. So check yourself. Check yourself. This is good news. I just need you to know it's good news. Because if it's about you, then you can do something about it. If it's not about you, then you're in prison to it. So I'd rather own, okay, so I'm responsible for the offenses that happen all the time. I'm responsible for people going ziggity boom on me. I'm responsible for so if you're drawing it to you, right? If this is a familiar thing that happens to you, just check your actions, check your energy, check your intentions, check your expectations. I'd rather it be about me than it be that I am I don't know what's the word, that I'm at somebody else's mercy, that it's about them. No, it's about me. Because then I can be free. I can decide I don't want it anymore. Right? We are not in prison to our emotions, right? Okay. What if you know they are not good intentions? So how do you interact when people intentionally try to hurt you? So so this is the thing that I assume. So last night, great question, Erica. One of the things is that I assume that everybody at any given time is doing the best that they can. I assume that everybody is trying to survive. I ascribe to this notion that there are only two emotions, and that's the emotion of love or fear. And if someone is doing something to me that is problematic. And it's so I'm gonna hold off by saying it's intentional. I'm gonna hold off on that because that's a whole nother conversation. But if they're doing something that's problematic to me, I assume that this person is functioning from a place of fear. When I believe that someone is responding because they're afraid, like they're doing this because they're afraid, they're doing this because they're trying to survive, they're doing this because I can then give them grace. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna let them keep doing what they were doing, but I'm not then saying, well, they're trying to and they're doing this to me. No, I'm like, you know what? They're afraid. They're doing some crazy stuff. People do crazy things when they're afraid. People do crazy things when they're driven by fear. Okay, I get that. They're driven by fear. Now, I probably need to move out the way so that they can't keep doing it to me. I don't give them access so they can't keep doing it to me. But I also don't get imprisoned in my mind by saying they doing this to me on purpose. They know they doing this. They know what they doing. They this, that. That does not help us at all. It doesn't help us. I assume that everybody at any given time is doing the best that they can. That's what I assume. Some people's best can end up and be our death. That's the thing, though. Some people's best can cost us a whole lot. But my assumption that people are doing their very best, it keeps me free. It keeps me free. My assumption that if a person is acting out of pocket, that they're responding from a place of fear, that they need to grow in their self-love. Well, I've been put on the earth to help people to grow. So let me get on my job and help them, whatever, from a distance, from connection, from holding them accountable, from whatever. But I don't assume that somebody is intentionally trying to do something to me. I assume that they're doing the best that they can and that they best can be harmful. It absolutely comes from fear. You're right, Tanya. It absolutely comes from fear. It comes from fear. No doubt about it. Good morning, cousin. I love you too. All is well. And so when I do that, then there's grace that's built in for everybody, including myself, and permission to decide what connection I will have, what distance we will experience, all of those kinds of things, whether or not they get access to me, all of those things. But let me tell you, if my interactions with someone continually to be toxic or difficult or challenging, I'm just going to have the distance. Like, I don't even have to have a conversation about their intentions. When we think that we know why somebody does what they do, that's what's getting ready to get us hooked. When we judge, because that's judgment. That's judgment, right? We can, and this is the course. Y'all know the course, right? It's and so we can either look at the empirical evidence, the observation, what we can take to court and say, well, this is what happened. We can't, in most cases, unless somebody had told us, we can't, in most cases, say why it happened. It is when we say why it happened, when we apply motive to the thing, when we add significance to it, that's what gets us hooked. That's what gets us hooked. Most of the time, people are simply trying to survive. Sometimes their survival techniques suck. Period. It suck. It's relationally problematic. Sometimes it is. And when you know that, then you do what you need to do, as opposed to using your conversation, using your energy to say, I know they did that on purpose. I know that they do this. I don't know why they do it. Well, you're right. You don't know why. So keep it moving. Do what you need to do to keep safe. Do what you need to do to keep your sanity. Do what you need to do to always flow from a place of love and keep it moving. Right? Some people I can't be in close proximity with often because it's going to be harder and harder for me to flow from a place of love. So I know that. So one, I grow so that I can have a greater capacity to navigate it, but also keep myself safe. Right? So you got to know what you need. You got to know what you need. Great question, Erica. But I stay away from assigning motive to people, because that's when we get in the weeds, because we don't know why people do what they do, except that They're flowing from a place of fear. When it's not life-giving to you, it's not life-giving to them either, because sowing and reaping is real. It is real. So if they are intentionally trying to harm us, then it's coming back to them. So I stay out of the business of vengeance. I stay out of the vengeance, the business of trying to say that somebody did this, I stay out of that business. It ain't none of my business. It ain't. And it doesn't serve me to come up with the reason. Like, I'm not in a court of law. I'm not in a situation where I've got to have all of that information in most scenarios. There are some scenarios that we need the why. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about the things where we come up and we make assumptions and we probably will never be able to get to why. Let me tell you something, because a lot of times people don't even know why they do what they do. We over here trying to say we know why somebody did what they did. Sometimes when you talk to the person, they don't even know why they really did what they did, because they haven't taken the time. They don't live a life of self-reflection. They haven't taken the time to really dig in deep. What's driving them? What's their motive? What it is? And if it's not life-giving, let me just cut to the chase. It's fear-based, period. It's fear-based. If we think we got to get over on somebody, it's fear-based. If we think we got to lie to somebody about something, it's fear-based. If we think we got to, get them before they get us, it's fear-based. If we think we got to clap back, it's fear-based. If we think all of that stuff is fear-based. Let me tell you, one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves from this place of feelings and emotions is to live from a place of love, to let our motivations be love-based. Love-based don't mean you get to walk over me. It don't mean you get to dog me out. It don't mean that you get to, no. I love me first. I need you to know that. I love me first. So I'm going to protect this girl right here. I'm going to pour back into this girl. I'm going to put on boundaries and all those kinds of things, because I do love me first. But the love that I have for me is so sufficient that I have enough for you. And that if that means we got to end relationships so that love may abound, then that's what it will be. I love you. I value you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the engagement. And at the moment that Abba gave us our breath, me and you, we forfeited, we relinquished, we gave up the right to not be amazing. Let's stay out of assuming that we know why people do what they do. That right there will jack us up every time. From a feeling perspective, let's just look at the evidence. Let's look at what we can take to court. The things that we see, the empirical evidence. What did you actually see? And sometimes you think you saw something that you didn't even see. So sometimes that can't even be trusted. What did you hear? Sometimes that, right? What did you touch? What actually happened? What actually happened? Empirical evidence is what we stay with, because when we cross over to assumption, motivation, when we cross over to intention, like, that's getting into something that you can't really know most of the time, not without having a direct conversation. And then when you have a direct conversation, that's the surface thing. Because unless somebody has done their own internal work, we often don't know what's driving us, because most of the time it's our childhood wounds. It's that core stuff that's still not dealt with. All right. But freedom is your birthright. And you can be free in your emotions. You really can. You can be free in your feelings, because what you feel is about what you say. Is you have the experience, and then you use your prefrontal cortex to make a decision, to give some rationale around what happened. That's going to determine what feeling you park in. I'm just saying. Freedom is your birthright, and it's available for you. This girl right here, I ain't got time to be bound, because I got too much stuff I need to do. All right. I love you. I could talk about this all day, and I feel very passionate about it. I really do. And it is my life's goal and intention that we be free. Okay? Have a wonderful day, y'all. Talk to you soon. Thank y'all for engaging. I love engagement.